Hello, it's Daryl here. We have a great weekend review for you on today's Total Soccer show. We cover, I believe, every game in the Premier League with thumbs up and thumbs down. Obviously, some games get more attention than others. There's a lot of Manchester United versus Arsenal because that was a great game of soccer. Today's show is sponsored by Fucci. Fucci is the soccer rebounder. You can use it to work on your touch. You can also use it to play a competitive game where you play the ball against the net, it bounces back, your opponent tries to do the same. It is both easier and harder than it sounds at the same time, and it is a lot of fun. The only way it wouldn't be fun is if David De Gea himself stood in front of the rebounder and wouldn't let you hit it. And I guess even then it would be kind of an interesting experience. Fucci have a special Christmas offer for you. There is $50 off at playfucci.com already. You can add an extra $20.17 to your savings if you use the discount code TSS2017 at checkout. TSS2017 for $20.17 off your Fucci at playfucci.com. David De Gea sold separately. Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove, and in front of the other mic, it's a man who loves a goalmouth scramble. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello, I do if it ends the right way. That's usually how I feel about those things.
I want to open a breakfast place and have goalmouth scramble on the menu.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just everything thrown in there, and then you're either very satisfied or not satisfied at all, depending on your appetite?
Depends on the customer.
All right.
Yeah, and it depends who's serving it up.
That sounds suspiciously like the skip scramble, and we all know you're not supposed to order the skip scramble.
I don't know what that is. What's a skip scramble?
You need to watch more Arrested Development, my friend.
I do.
That's the giant buffet platter that you can order that makes the woman theoretically fat. I'm going to leave it at that.
Odd. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not
It's like everything on the menu, like served in a trough, basically.
Let's not talk Arrested Development today.
All
we
right.
may do in the future. We're talking Premier League. Last week we went big on the Bundesliga because it was Schalke Dortmund. It was maybe the game of the season, game of the century. But this week the Premier League served up some goalmouth scrambles and a magnificent game in the shape of Manchester United 3, Arsenal 1.
Yes.
Let's get into it. So we're going to talk thumbs up, thumbs down. That's how we do the review of all our Premier League action. So you got any thumbs up or thumbs down for this United Arsenal game?
I mean, I'm going to say thumbs up to Jesse Lingard, just period, because I think it's a player that both of us made jokes about him starting this game.
I have thumbs down to me for disrespecting Jesse Lingard at the start of this game because I asked you who are United starting up front, and you said Lukaku, Martial, Lingard, and I said, well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Like I was meatloaf.
Yeah. Well, it was because when you look at the teams, they came out in roughly the same formation to start.
Yeah.
And my point, I think, was that if you look at Arsenal's front three, it definitely looks a little bit stronger because that was
Ozil, Sanchez.
Versus Lingard, Martial, and Lukaku.
Right.
But yeah, Lingard immediately shut us up, and Arsenal as well.
Let's talk about what Lingard did then.
Sure.
Because he didn't really play as part of a front three.
No.
The more I watched it, because we rewatched it here in the office to get a better feel for it, and it looked to me like it was more sort of Martial and Lukaku were definitely the two forwards. Yep. Martial was shading to the left, but then Lingard seemed to have what I would call a free role.
I feel like you're going very hard not to say the thing that you want to say.
I don't know what I want to say.
I feel like what you want to say is maybe Jose Mourinho watched some Jesse Marsch New York Red Bulls and was like, whatever Tyler Adams is doing, let's do that.
No, I wasn't going to mention Tyler Adams today.
Because you got that tweet from people saying, how long will it take?
You forced me into it.
I did.
No, so what I was going to say is that he almost had like a free role, but not in a like Juan Roman Riquelme type thing, like just be creative. More a free role to go press and cause trouble wherever your legs carry you. And that's absolutely what happened, right? He was all over Arsenal from beginning to end, and he gets on the score sheet twice as a result.
Yes, I would add the caveat though that I think like sometimes when you go down that road, like teams can, or like people who aren't familiar with like tactics as much or don't watch games from a tactical standpoint might think like, oh, they just let him run around. But it was a lot more like, because there were times when it was Pogba who was doing the pressing and Lingard stepping in and marking a central midfielder and then switching. So it was like
free roll's the wrong word.
It was
though.
Organized chaos is I guess the way I'm going to put that. That like when it was Lingard's turn, he was bombing all around. You'd see him on the left, you'd see him on the right, sometimes you'd see team in the middle, but then other times he would sit and somebody else would go.
Yeah, it's almost like he had a license to chase from man to man.
Yeah.
Because that's how at least one of the goals comes around, is he sort of closes down the first man, and then he's on to I think it's the second goal, right?
Goal,
yeah, when he ends up getting it off Mustafi.
But even the first goal
is Lingard too,
yeah,
right?
It's basically United lose possession.
Lingard loses possession.
Yeah, and then Koscielny gets the ball. Lingard puts him under pressure. Koscielny, we think, is just kind of sees open space, sees Kolasinac more or less open, I think, and just sees like, okay, I can play that square ball. But number one, no, you can't. And number two, you certainly can't play it in kind of like a lofted, chipped pass.
Because that's kind of slow as well, right?
But I do think that was Arsenal expecting United to drop off a little bit, or at least play more defensive, and with that would have been Ashley Young and Antonio Valencia, the left and right wing-backs. I think the expectation was that they would immediately drop back into almost a back five, and so that ball would therefore be on.
Yep.
But because they were very aggressive in stepping forward, those two especially, that ball that comes across from Koscielny is intercepted by Valencia.
Because he reacts really fast and just beats Kolasinac to it. I even like if you watch Kolasinac's body shape as that ball's coming, he's acting like a man who expects to receive that ball under no pressure. As Valencia steps and wins it off him, he's still shaped with his left foot out, ready to cushion it down.
Yeah.
But Valencia's already away.
He is.
Can we say that maybe this was kind of a Mourinho masterstroke to go out there and press Arsenal? Because we rewound the tape. That's not really how it works. We press rewind on the DVR. And they were doing this from the start, right? Ashley Young was all up there. Antonio Valencia was all up there, pressuring Arsenal in a way that we do not see from Mourinho teams.
No.
The bus wasn't parked. The bus was heading at you at 70 miles an hour.
The bus was like a bunch of different cars who broke apart, and then they could all come chase you. That's what it felt like it was. But I think that was what
the bus was driven by Keanu Reeves.
That makes sense. Wait, he didn't drive it.
No, the bus was driven by Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, the Wildcat.
And Dennis Hopper is Jose Mourinho in this case, making everybody go faster than they expected.
So Jose Mourinho is a terrorist?
Yes.
Got it. All right.
Ask Arsenal.
But I do think it was a really interesting game from a managerial standpoint, because after United went 2-0 up, I think we both thought, now they're going to sit back and be ultra defensive. And they were certainly more defensive, but it felt like what he was doing was consistently adjusting to what Wenger was doing. And that starts with the forced substitution for Arsenal, where Mustafi injures himself on the lead up to that second goal for Man United. He comes off, Arsenal shift to a back four, and you can see Mourinho instantly talks to Pogba, talks to a few other people, and you see them change their approach a little bit. Still not sitting back, but it's not quite as aggressive in that press. And it just felt like his entire game plan was built around, we're going to do this thing to try to catch them off guard, and if it works, which I think it did, then we're going to adjust on the fly to whatever.
Expected, right? He wasn't expecting 2 goals in the first 15 minutes.
No, and I know people are probably
right?
People might be giving me think I'm giving them a little bit too much credit, but we have heard stuff in the past where he has said if you pressure him onto his left foot, he will play this pass to this guy, and you can he has that much video review. Mourinho does. He watches that much tape that he can,
or someone else does.
Somebody else does more likely. Yeah. But that's what I mean where I say that
he's the kid that pays someone else to do their homework.
Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did give an instruction, if you force Koscielny into a ball, he'll play a lateral pass that you can then pick off. That would not surprise me, and that's why it happened, I would say.
All right, so can I get us back to thumbs up, thumbs down?
Sure.
And I want to give a thumbs up to Anthony Martial's exorcist ankle.
Yeah.
Because for the second goal, the assist he gives to, who scores that goal?
Lingard,
sorry. Because Valencia scores the first one, of course. That your leg should not be able to twist in the direction that Martial twists his leg to play that little pass through with the outside of his foot.
No, and I think one player who thinks it definitely shouldn't is Jesse Lingard. Because Lingard, you can see him as he's running through. It's basically, they win the ball back, Lukaku gets the ball, he plays it into Martial, Lingard's running through, Martial does sort of a turn and flick in the same motion, all with the outside of his foot. That's what puts Lingard in, and Lingard scores. But if you watch from the one camera behind the goal, you can see Lingard kind of gesturing, leave it. He doesn't want him to touch it so he can just run through.
Yeah.
And there's almost a half second of whoa, that came through. I don't know how that happened. Look on Lingard's face as that ball pops through.
And once again, we're saying, I believe that initial press starts with Lingard, right? Lingard, I can't remember, he wins it off Mustafi after chasing down from, I think, Xhaka to Mustafi, and then the ball pops loose and we're away.
Yeah, and that's when
Salute to Lingard. I will never speak ill of him again, seriously.
Really?
I understand now that he is sort of he's not just work hard, not run fast, try hard. He's just actually very good at closing down, and that is absolutely a skill. So now when I see him in the England squad, on the England team, I'm going to have a lot more respect for Jesse Lingard. I've learned a lesson.
I think that it was definitely impressive. I would say the reason why I was more impressed by Jesse Lingard, yes, that's very good, but I think that is an element of Jose Mourinho telling him specifically what to do and him being physical and fast and being capable of doing that. The thing that's always been frustrating for me as a Man United fan is his first touch is not very good. And so sometimes sometimes in that moment.
Really? Compared to what, though?
Well, I mean, I've seen it pop straight
Compared
up in
to
the air.
Justin Sardis?
I've seen him try to take a one-time shot that went straight up in the air or went 20 yards wide.
Yeah.
Like, he can have those moments where I think his first touch isn't quite as settled as he would like it to be. But in this game, on a number of occasions, including the lead up to the third goal, his second, he takes that first touch off of the Lukaku layoff perfectly. He takes it like across, but still at goal, but takes it away from the defenders, but cuts across. Just that little first touch is kind of what allows for that whole move to develop.
You got to think he's also, I can't remember his exact age, but he's sort of coming into maturity now. You know what I mean? He's sort of, I call him early to mid-20s now, to the point where he's going to be much more confident than ever before.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we're seeing the real Lingard. So we haven't really talked about David De Gea just yet. Equaled the Premier League record of 14 saves in one game. The Gomez scrambles that we talked about earlier, almost all of them ended with at least one, sometimes two in a row. David De Gea saves to keep the ball out. I've got a thumbs up for David De Gea's luck. David De Gea's luck, because one of the first saves he makes is kind of accidental. Lacazette hits it into his knee, into De Gea's knee, and it sort of bounces across goal and out. And I'm going to say that's a sliding doors moment in this game. If that ball had bounced off his knee and in, you don't get this sort of unbeatable David De Gea game. I know he got beat once, but even that was kind of a weird goal.
I would say that one's not on him. But I would say that, to your point, the other two goalkeepers I think who he equaled in terms of those 14 saves were Tim Krul at Newcastle, and I think it was Carlo Coutinho.
No, it was an Italian sending keeper. It's Vita Minone?
Yes, there it is. But it's two goalkeepers playing for teams. Tim Krul at that time, Minone, I'm assuming that was with Sunderland. Not very good teams facing lots of shots.
Not Man United teams.
And so I think that's where Arsenal fans certainly can and should feel aggrieved by this one, because there's I'm sure we'll get to it later on, but there's the penalty shout that definitely should have been given on Danny Welbeck. It could have been 2-2 there. And then if they finished some of these chances, it easily could have been an Arsenal win. So it's a weird thing because United's game plan worked in those first 15 minutes, but I still think they were a little bit fortunate to get out of this one with a win.
Yeah, especially I thought as well when we were talking tactics earlier, second half they definitely went out there and sat off a little more thinking, all right, we've kind of got this, we just need to see it through. But De Gea still has to make a couple of those great saves.
Certainly.
So can we talk about sort of, I like to get into the analysis of it, of how and why De Gea was able to make the type of saves he was. Because the two that stand out in my head from the scrambles are when he makes an initial save and then he's up, or sometimes not even up, but he somehow manages to make the second save.
Yes. I will say this. There's the dogma quote from Loki, Matt Damon's character, where he says, I think mass genocide is the most exhausting activity a person can engage in next to soccer. And I would say extend that further to next to being a soccer goalkeeper, and it's not even close.
Many people would disagree, because don't you just stand there?
No. The training, yes, in a game, but the training that goalkeepers go through, I could have been in the best shape of my life, and I would have been dead after 5 minutes of it, because it's just ruthless. It's what you expect Romanian gymnasts to go through to get ready for the Olympics. It's dive this way, now dive underneath these cones, now run through these cones, now be back on your feet, and that's a light warm up is the most intense training possible. But with that then comes an incredibly strong core and incredibly strong reflexes, and when you build that in, it becomes automatic. And I think that's what a lot of these saves were for David De Gea. Not so much these spectacularly sprawling saves, but a lot more of just react instantly to what's happening in front of you.
I'm thinking the first one that comes to mind for me is, I can't remember if it's Sanchez or Lacazette is dribbling at him in the box, and De Gea kind of goes down and sprawls in front of him, right? And normally, if the striker sort of doesn't shoot, because he's tricked you into going down, but he doesn't shoot, he's then able to just take a couple touches wider and you're down and you're beaten and he scores, right? But in this case, I think it's Lacazette. He gets De Gea down, but then De Gea sort of it's almost like it's obviously core strength, but it looks like he sort of levitates up again and then shuffles over and keeps blocking the path by keeping his arms
that
out.
one, yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? That is core strength or witchcraft and levitation.
But, it can be both. But no, you're right, because he does go down. He dives at first, but
most keepers are done at that point. It's over for them.
But it's also the way he dives. It allows him to still be more mobile than he really has any right to be.
Yes.
And so then he can continue to sprawl across. Same thing with the double save where he saves Lacazette's shot and then gets the foot to Sanchez's follow-up. It's the same thing where it's basically because he's got that core strength and that ability to react, he can get up and make that play.
Yeah, so we had a conversation off air, which I'd like to sort of kind of not recreate, but at least repeat, which is that I always feel like De Gea makes too many foot saves, and I don't like it because I think it sort of is a bad habit. But what I've realised is that moment we're talking about, most keepers wouldn't be making a foot save because they've made the first save, they're down, then they just got beat on the second time.
Yeah.
And just the fact that De Gea is able to sort of he lifts his head up enough and then his legs up enough to be able to get that foot block in. It's the only thing he possibly could have done in that scenario, and it's more than most keepers manage to do.
Yeah.
So it's not bad technique, it's just doing a near impossible thing, and the only way to do it is to get your leg in the way. Right?
Yeah, I think so. But I also think for the longest
time... There's going to be some goalkeepers disagreeing with me because I'm never as confident in my goalkeeper analysis.
Yeah, but that's fair, and I think that's good to be honest about. Yeah. What I would say, though, is that I think back to some of the Man United keepers of years past, the ones that didn't work. So Ben Foster, Anders Lingard, Tim Howard, they're all very good shot stoppers.
Gosh, on Tim Howard, but yeah.
But what I mean is that like all those goalkeepers are fine goalkeepers, but they're really good shot stoppers, but they're not as good like with restarting play, playing with the ball at their feet. Those are what Man United tended to want out of their goalkeeper. And I think you look at De Gea and he's kind of both. Like he's a really good instinctive shot stopper, but can also play with his feet. And I imagine that if it's drilled into you, settle this with your feet, keep the ball moving, pass and move, then you probably use your feet a little bit more when you're making those saves as a result.
He'll be a wonderful Real Madrid keeper.
You've already made that joke this evening. I'm not taking the bait.
I would say as well, how about this then?
Yeah.
To switch it to Arsenal for a second, thumbs up to Aaron Ramsey for sort of thinking, all right, this guy's not getting beat with normal things. I'm going to do something really weird to help Arsenal score.
Yeah.
So that ball comes in from Sanchez. Ramsey is onside. We've rewatched it. He's onside as he runs through.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of first time trying to hit it at point blank range past De Gea, he does that weird sort of tap it backwards for Lacazette that is... It's enough to just throw De Gea sort of off his game enough. And then Aaron Ramsey gets out of the way, which is the best part. If you watch the replay, you see him tap it back and then run across the front of De Gea, but out of the way so Lacazette has a clear shot on goal. Really good, quick thinking.
But to your point, like about this being the only way we're going to beat De Gea on the day, like I think you're kind of not wrong because even with the way Ramsey's approaching that, he's in the air and so he has to almost like cradle the ball back to Lacazette. If he tries to take that as a shot, because you're right, it's not very far out, but it's still going to be sort of like an outside of the foot, like helping the ball along, and that does lend itself to a reaction save from De Gea because then you're not really going to be able to pick your spot as much.
Yep.
Whereas if you settle for Lacazette, now he is 8 yards away with nobody around him and he can take a touch and then just drive it into a specific spot. That's going to make it much harder. That is the way you're going to beat David De Gea.
I also want to give a thumbs down to Paul Pogba.
Yep.
For
ruining the Manchester derby by getting himself sent off for it. It's not as bad as it could have been, but I think there's definitely some element of, if not deliberately stamping on Hector Bellerin, then at least playing dangerously because he ends up with his right foot on one of Bellerin's ankles and his left foot on the other one. I'd say
it's dangerous.
I mean this not as a joke, but kind of as a joke. Like at best, it's a red card. And I mean that in the sense of like, at best, it is reckless and dangerous and should have been a red card.
Reckless is yellow, dangerous
but then
is
red. But it's like, but what I mean is more so that like he maybe does, if he doesn't mean to do it, it's still stepping on two different body parts of a player with your studs. So it's still, even if it's accidental, it's still a red. And then at worst, it is, I'm annoyed that this guy got the ball off me, or I'm annoyed this guy blocked my path. So maybe I'm going to leave this one foot in a little bit longer than I need to, and then it's malicious. But either way, it's definitely a red card.
And a reminder that Manchester derby, which is top of the table, 1v2, is next Sunday, December 10th, but Pogba won't be there. And the reason they'll miss Paul Pogba, I mean, there are many reasons, but that final Man United goal is everything that they will miss about Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
Just ask Laurent Koscielny.
Yeah, so it's Matic starts it, plays it to Lukaku. Lukaku drops to Lingard. Lingard drives forward, plays the ball wide to Pogba.
But all that's not as brilliant as what Paul Pogba does.
Because it's a good dribble from Pogba. But the thing that I find so fascinating is that he has Koscielny on him, and I think Laurent Koscielny, he's a big guy. He's used to winning challenges. He's used to being able to knock off forwards. And I think in this situation, he tries to do that to Pogba, but Pogba has like almost that Leo Messi center of gravity somehow, where it's really difficult to knock him off the ball, but he also makes it really difficult. He's really good at keeping the ball away, but still under control, but not close enough that you can poke it away. So you have to go through him. And then I think he's really good at absorbing that contact and using it to his advantage.
Because, he keeps the ball. It's almost like a boxer with a long jab where you can keep someone at distance. Like he's got long legs, so he can be like rolling his foot over the top of the ball over here. Then Koscielny with his right foot. Then Koscielny's on his left side, and he's very good at like keeping that left side strong. So there's just no way for Koscielny to reach the ball unless he gets like Inspector Gadget legs and sort of telescopes them out. So yeah, I think Koscielny was surprised. Pogba was just very calm and like, I know I'm bigger, I know I'm stronger, I know I've got the skills, I know I've got the vision to just work it slowly down here, then square it for Lingard and 3-1 and we're done.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, 3-1 and we're done with the caveat that it should have been a penalty. That makes it 3-2. United are down a man, suddenly 3-2. 10 against 11. It could have opened things up. So I understand why Arsenal fans maybe feel a little bit aggrieved by this.
It was a good cut from Welbeck, right? It kind of deserved to be a penalty just for the skill. Was it Darmian who went sliding in? And,
He of the mutton chops.
Okay, but that aside, great performance from Manchester United. I want to give credit to Jose Mourinho, I feel like. Yeah.
I think so.
Well done.
Yep.
Right, lots more Premier League to talk about, right? We're going to do a roundup, thumbs up, thumbs down. But first, today's show is sponsored by Brooklyn's first sneaker company. That's Greats, and they offer exactly what the name suggests. The Greats are high-quality, classic styles for both men and women, and they are made the best for less.
That noise you heard was me kicking the table, so I could sort of lift my leg up enough for Daryl to see that I'm wearing my Greats now.
Did you get less limber? Normally you can lift your leg up so I can see it.
I think it's because it was my left leg and it was caught underneath the chair leg.
Okay.
I didn't mean for that to happen. But I am wearing my Greats because I enjoy my Greats. But what we try to do is see maybe who from the weekend deserves a pair of Greats themselves, and if so, which pair do they deserve?
So who is it, Taylor?
I have an answer for you, Daryl Grove. It is Alberto Brignoni.
I have never heard of that name until this
today.
Weekend. Yeah, I saw his name on Twitter.
The Benevento goalkeeper. He scored the equalizer against AC Milan in a 2-2 draw. It was a diving header off of a corner, I believe, in the 95th minute.
Yep.
And so I've given it to him because the Amerigo is the new winter boot. I think it's like a hiking boot for an urban climate is what they go with.
I saw that.
It's a new arrival. And that means it arrives on the scene late, much like Alberto Brignone when he comes flying in to win that header.
Yeah.
The description is the sweet new Goodyear welted Vibram Vibrante sole keeps it airy and light. That's what you want if you're a goalkeeper making a diving header, airy and light. You can fly through the air.
So also, great sneakers and boots are all made in Italy.
This is true.
In Civitanova, I believe, which is the shoe valley of Italy. So it's an amazing shoe made in Italy, just like this amazing goal made in Italy.
I don't know if Alberto Brignoni was made in that valley, but I'm guessing he was made in Italy.
Is he made mostly of leather?
Sure, why not? And I will say the Amerigo, it says its job is to keep out the dirt and the muck. That sounds very much like a goalkeeper's job as well. Mm-hmm.
But it's also, so I read the copy as well on the Greats. Greats copy, by the way, on their website is really fun to read.
That's coming from a man who writes copy.
Yeah,
so
right. Yeah, I recognize real. He said very immodestly.
Yeah.
It basically talked about the Amerigo as sort of a sturdy hiking boot that's also light enough to use in the city.
There we go.
Right. So, but that got me in mind of Brignoni because he's sturdy goalkeeper, but he's also sort of light and agile enough to go up front and score a diving header. Do you understand the significance of that diving header as well? It's Benevento's first point of the whole season. They have lost every game. They're about to lose to Milan. And then he gets their first point of the season. Taylor, it's December.
Yeah.
It's December. They've been playing since August.
And it's the type of goal that makes Gennaro Gattuso say it would have been better to get stabbed than concede that goal. Yeah, he was not pleased.
He is great for a quote.
He is. Given that was his first match in charge and they're playing the bottom of the table team, I think he's probably not too pleased.
That reminds me, there's also a great quote from the keeper, Brignoli, saying that I didn't dive at it like an attacker. I closed my eyes and dove at it like a goalkeeper. And if you watch the footage, it really is like that. You can imagine if he just extended his arms, he would have been claiming that ball out of the air and coming down with it. But instead, he just bangs it with his head.
So two things. Number one, kids out there, not how you win a header. Don't close your eyes and just throw your head at it.
For special occasions only.
Yes. But number two, if Brignone does want to reward...
Is it Brignoli?
I have Brignoni. It might be Brignoli.
Okay.
Either way.
We're covered both ways now.
Sure. If he does want to get himself a pair of Greats, or if anybody else out there wants to, they can do so, and they can get 15% off their order, Daryl Grove.
So if you go to greats.com, the link will be in the show notes. Use the discount code TOTALSoccerShow, all one word. You'll get 15% off. Great gift for Christmas.
Yes, indeed. Thank you to Greats for sponsoring today's episode of the Total Soccer Show.
All right, which game would you like to go to next, Taylor? Which Premier League game would you like
What
to
have I got in my notes first? I've got Brighton 1, Liverpool 5.
So do I. Did we watch it? We might
Match of the day. Would do it, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Okay. I got a good look at this. I've got, first of all, thumbs up to Felipe Coutinho for doing the opposite of what Michelle Obama recommended.
What's that?
Because when the Brighton defensive wall went high, Coutinho went low.
There we go. I was very confused for a moment there. Also, maybe
No
some
credit
people
for
were.
that? I thought that was a pretty
I'm not
good-
giving you any credit
No?
because also you are correct. It is Brignoli. So thank you for that.
There you go.
Going back to it, yeah, so what do you mean by that one? I'm
So-
assuming you mean the delivery for one of his assists?
No, the Coutinho free kick goal. What happens
there
is
it is. Gotcha.
Brighton's defensive wall jumps.
Yep.
And Coutinho just hits it low and under and in. That's how he scores. That's how he scores the free kick. And then Jurgen Klopp afterwards said that some of his analysts had told them and told Coutinho that Brighton always jump. The defensive wall always jumps. And so then Coutinho steps up and takes advantage of that.
I found myself wondering this, like, is this possible to do in an amateur game? Because I think it absolutely requires you watching so much film of the opposition to know they jump every time. Because you might see them jump once, but then if you take the first free kick and they jump, so then I step up to take the second free kick and I think I've got this figured out, and I hit it low straight into their feet from a goal scoring opportunity, people are going to lose their minds.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any way you can do it other than having watched a bunch of film, or just really backing yourself and hoping it works.
I'm kind of surprised that Brighton do this. It seems like you're just asking to get
I
found
bet they
out
won't anymore.
if you do this every week.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Now that the secret is out, they've got to rethink. Like, do we not do it now? We've got to rethink our whole defending free kicks thing. I think the answer is yes. The final score, by the way, was Brighton and Hove Albion 1, Liverpool Football Club 5.
Yep, and I have some thumbs up here.
Yeah.
I'm going to say thumbs up to Jurgen Klopp for like doing a Billy Bean sort of situation where I think he was like, all right, we don't have any really defenders that I really trust, so I just won't play any defenders. That is my solution
to this.
to
A
this.
back three of Dejan Lovren, Emre Can, who is absolutely a midfielder. I know he's played centre-back occasionally.
And
Giorgio Wijnaldum, who under no circumstances is a centre-back, except this definitely worked.
Yeah, it did.
It's almost like a Chile thing, right? You know, when Chile end up with those short defensive midfielders playing centre back, like Gary Medell's back there.
Yeah, I forget who the other one is, but yeah, you're right. There's definitely. I think we did that once because we looked and Gary Medell was like 5'10".
Yeah,
and then I think we were like, oh, but his partner must be as taller, and then the partner was like 5'6". We're like, okay, no. So yeah, it can work, and I think for Jurgen Klopp, I think it's a smart decision to basically say, no, I want to put in two attackers against a team that's probably not going to be as aggressive going forward.
Yeah.
I want people who can play the ball, keep possession, and make things happen.
Yeah, well, certainly Wijnaldum is great on the ball, but thumbs up to Emre Can. I've got 4, doing a proper centre-back job and going up and scoring a header off a set piece.
Yep.
That's part of the job.
He certainly did, and it certainly is. My final thumbs up is to... this is my second Arrested Development reference. I did not plan it that way.
Well, look, we're going to be doing an Arrested Development 11 soon.
Yeah.
Hence, we've been sort of studying the tape.
It must be,
so it's seeping into the show.
It is, but this one was planned. The other one was not. But this one is thumbs up to Liverpool for being Job and not Buster. Because when Buster's trying to climb the wall when he joins Army, not the Army, but Army, Job motivates him by punching him in the stomach. And he says, when you can do this without me punching you, like that's when you've learned how to do it. And I do feel like that was sort of Liverpool's approach to Brighton's corners. It's like, oh, you have a corner kick? Well, we're going to punish you. And that's exactly what they did. Basically, Brighton corner, Murray heads it meaningly with a great save, and then it goes right back down, and it ends in a Firmino goal.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
All right.
So I just felt like it was just sort of like, oh, you think you're going to score? No, my friends. I'm going to punch you in the stomach and score for you.
Big away win for
Absolutely.
Liverpool. All right, I want to move on to the Chelsea game. Chelsea 3, Newcastle 1. And I'm going to say thumbs up to Eden Hazard for getting all his good form out of the way now, so he won't have any to hurt England with at the World Cup. Am I right?
Thumbs down to Eden Hazard for making Daryl concerned for the next 6 months is what I have on my piece of paper. And you kind of proved that correct, I have to say. Yeah, and I mean, and it's justified because once again, Eden Hazard did Eden Hazard things.
He did. So he scored the first one. So actually, I don't know the order of it, but he definitely scored one that came back to him. And then he Panenke'd a penalty kick. I do want to talk about how, because we haven't mentioned this on the show yet, Chelsea have essentially changed their formation, right? Remember Conte used to go with the old 3-4-3? It's now become a sort of, I want to call it a 3-5-1-1, maybe a 3-6-1.
Interesting.
So what they do now is essentially just have a two-man forward line of Morata as like a target man always up front, and then Hazard buzzing around underneath him. And they've definitely got this sort of big man, little man partnership going on. Because that first goal, it's like it's a ball aimed for Morata, but Newcastle managed to half clear it. Comes to Hazard, who scores it. There's definitely a connection where Morata's always knocking it down for Eden Hazard.
You know what other partnership they have? Thumbs up to Leicester City starting central midfield from their title-winning campaign, because they started Danny Drinkwater and N'Golo Kante in this game, which seems sort of insulting and unfair.
Yeah, well, with a bonus Cesc Fabregas thrown in, right?
Yes.
Classing up the place a little bit.
But I do want to say, to your point, though, about it looking almost like a 3-6-1, it took me a really long time to learn this, because I have seen teams play a thing that approximated a 3-6-1 and been like, well, we always make fun of Steve Sampson for that. The reason why? It's because he didn't play any defensive midfielders.
Right.
It was a 3-6-1 of like all attacking midfielders are like, and that doesn't work quite as well.
There's nothing inherently wrong with a formation, right? It's how you roll it out there.
Exactly.
And as we won't go into it again today, but a lot of news has come out. Not news. A lot of stories have come out about why that team struggled in '98, and it wasn't all about the 3-6-1. The 3-6-1 worked at the Copa America. Sorry, I'm accidentally going down that path.
I forced you down that route. Yeah.
So thumbs up to Eden Hazard. I've also got thumbs up. You got some? Sorry.
I've got a thumbs down to Newcastle's defensive efforts.
Okay.
Specifically Matt Ritchie, but maybe also Chancel Mbemba as well. Matt Ritchie had the very, very bad-headed clearance, quote-unquote, that led directly to goal number 2. And then he had the very stupid tackle that did not need to be made, but that conceded the penalty that led to that Panenka for Eden Hazard.
And for the third goal, I've got thumbs up to Newcastle defenders Florian Lejeune and Chancel Mbemba for finding a new religion.
Okay.
They bowed down and worshipped as the ball came in for Alvaro Morata for the cross. You remember this?
I think that was the second goal, but yeah.
Okay, so the cross comes in.
That's why I have thumbs down to him,
Yeah, the cross comes in and they both just sort of prostrate themselves and collapse on the floor. Morata's like, all right, I guess I'll head this in.
It's like, it's... to the extent that I think Mbemba maybe thought he was a striker, and it was like, I feel somebody pushing me in the back. I'm going for this penalty. But like that's never going to be given. And it's just a little bit of contact from Morata, but it's enough for him to go sprawling, and then Morata wins the header. It's very questionable defending.
Weird moment, right?
Yes.
Because there was some bad defending, I'm going to say thumbs up to Rafa Benitez for dropping DeAndre Yedlin. So they went 3-4-3 kind of, right? They went with wing-backs essentially instead of the normal back four. Plus Yedlin had a horrible couple of games where he's been at fault for many, many goals. Matt Ritchie also involved in the goals that Yedlin's at fault for previously. But Yedlin was not involved in any of this. So at least now it's almost like you've taken various things out of the equation to see what the problem is. Yep. And you know that it's not specifically DeAndre Yedlin is the problem.
No. That said, 3-1 away to Chelsea isn't like the worst of results.
No.
But yeah, still probably
it's not the best of
times.
times.
Maybe you see if Yedlin can come back in and make things happen.
Just for fans who are sort of excited about Yedlin, it was Javier Manquillo played as the right wing back. If you want to see Yedlin as a wing back, that's his new competition, right? Yep. If Newcastle aren't going back 4, then it's Yedlin versus Manquillo. But I am looking forward to possibly one day seeing Yedlin as a wing back in the Premier League.
The other interesting thing I would say when we're talking about defenders, I am excited for that too, is that I do wonder how much of Chelsea's new shape and approach to games has come about because David Luiz has been dropped. Once again, he was not even in the squad. He was sitting in the stands.
And just Christensen was tearing it up, right?
At times, I think in the very beginning, I think the goal comes about from like some very like Chelsea sort of like, no, you take it, no, you take it, no, you take it, and then the goal happens. I
remember a lot of good through balls from Christensen. I think he had some good.
I think he made up for it later on, but that was one that stands out was Dwight Gale's opener, but it didn't end up mattering. So such is life for Newcastle, and congratulations to Chelsea.
Anything else from you on this game?
Not from this game.
Then I want to move on and say thumbs up to Sam Allardyce.
Yep.
For proving me right. Everton 2, Huddersfield 0 in Big Sam's debut as Everton coach. But also, if you notice this, the starting 11 and formation was the same as the team that was picked to play to play West Ham in midweek when they won 4-0 with Big Sam in the stands. I kind of feel like Allardyce might have picked that team as well.
So you're saying you were right because Everton beat a team who are currently 16th in the table?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I really think Allardyce is going to be a big success at Everton, and it's not the desperate move that some people think it is.
So I want to add,
smart move.
I want to add though, thumbs up to Big Sam's earpiece. He had a giant earpiece in, and I have to believe that was somebody telling him players' names because he is not great with that stuff. And I really do like the idea of like, good job, Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney. He doesn't even know that much.
I genuinely think it is. I probably should or could research this and find out. I would bet he has someone higher up in the stadium. Yeah. Like not hierarchically, but with like a bird's eye view. And they're like spotting things that maybe he's not seeing from down at pitch level.
Yeah, it's why the offensive and defensive coordinator for NFL teams or college football teams stay up high, and then they coordinate with the coach down there.
So this is an obvious thing to American sports fans. They know what that's all about.
I mean, because you can see more of the game, you can see more of what's happening, and if you're trying to do like an overall game plan, you might be able to spot like that guy's too far forward or too far back, tell him to get forward a little bit more.
But that's a smart move, right?
But I think it's also especially something you want to do if you're trying to implement a style or a system or just a general approach to have that earpiece in so more people are helping it happen. There was another moment in this game when I think right after Everton had scored their second goal that like there were 6 different coaches up saying 6 different things to 6 different people. Sam Allardyce was just sitting there silently standing as everybody else was like, you go there, you go there. So I think he's
not in a confusing way, more like each
he's got all the coaches have been told do different things.
Big Sam's on it.
There we go.
So just to go back to my thing, like I really think he has a reputation as sort of old school gruff, just like long balls, try hard, but I really think he thinks through almost like in a budget Mourinho type way. He really thinks through each little aspect.
Well, he out-tacticked him.
I also want to say, so I was kind of joking about proving me right, but actual thumbs up to Sam Allardyce for playing the kids.
Can I interject to say thumbs up to Dominic Calvert-Lewin for being a kid who was played?
Yes. So in the starting 11, as well as a young goalkeeper, but you're going to play him because you're a young, expensive goalkeeper, right? John Joe Kenny, Mason Holgate, Tom Davies, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Started the game against West Ham, started this game against Huddersfield. Calvert-Lewin with the assist for the first goal and the goal for the second goal.
Yeah. And somehow the assist was more impressive to me than the actual goal.
Yeah, the goal was kind of ugly.
Because it's that sort of, we were trying to think of a name for this before we started recording, and I'm sure there is one out there. But it's like the ball comes in, and he kind of takes it with the inside of his right foot, but it's his left side facing the goal, and he just kind of swings it around and brings it back behind him, puts it through for Gylfi Sigurdsson to finish.
I always end up calling it like the reverse instep.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a bit of momentum on it. But like really opens it up for Sigurdsson to go through and score. As part of this as well, the assist for Calvert-Lewin's goal comes from Wayne Rooney. And I give a special sort of half for last midweek and half for this week thumbs up to Wayne Rooney for he was in a rough run of form. He's rediscovered his form in this 4-1-4-1 where he's one of essentially the 3 midfielders, right? One of the 2 more forward midfielders ahead of Idrissa Gueye. He puts in a perfect through ball for Calvert-Lewin. It kind of splits 2 defenders and goes just enough ahead of him to put Calvert-Lewin through on goal. From the extended highlights, I saw Rooney was very involved in midfield and he was back to his old battling self as well. There were a couple of times where it looked like he was tackled, but he was like up and like all feisty and winning the ball back and then dribbling away with it.
I've made this analogy about Band of Brothers before, but it just reminds me of when like they're trying to do this overly elaborate attack plan and then the new commander takes over. It's like, no, cut that out, go through there, you go that, you do this. And I do feel like that's what Big Sam has done because it's not like Wayne Rooney was doing that much of a different role under Koeman than he is under Big Sam, but it does feel a little bit more like he knows specifically what he needs to do and where he needs to be, and so there's a little bit more of that confidence coming back in the way he chooses to play.
Team looks more structured to me. It's got Idrissa Gueye, is that I think his full name, playing as a more sort of dedicated number 6 defensive midfielder. Like literally that goal I talked about with the Rooney through ball to Calvert-Lewin starts with an Idrissa Gueye like proper old school defensive midfield tackle. Ball pops loose. Rooney goes. So yeah, it's suddenly, I think, looking quite good for Everton, although it is 2 of the weaker teams that they played. It may all look very bad again when they play someone more dangerous.
We shall see. But before we see about other games, Dale Grove, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least more games to discuss, we've got another sponsor.
Okay, today's show is sponsored by Blue Apron. Blue Apron is the leading meal kit delivery service in the United States.
That's right. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. That means if you're a 2-person family, you can do that. If you're a family of more than 2 people, you can do that meal plan. And you can do the wine plan as well if you want to pair your meal with a little bit of wine.
I genuinely forgot about the wine plan.
Yep.
I may look into that.
And I'm especially excited about it, at least in like especially in this time period, because you tend to get turkey and mashed potatoes and a lot of heavy food around the holidays. And Blue Apron have
mix it up.
So many different options out there, and especially at a time when there aren't as many vegetables and produce available, it's a way to get different stuff than you might otherwise get and to cook other things than you might otherwise cook.
There's enough vegetables for me because I'm signed up for the vegetarian plan. I actually got an email today, this afternoon, saying your order is on the way.
There we go.
And it includes mushroom grilled cheese sandwiches, with persimmon salad.
I would eat that.
Still don't know what persimmon is, but I'm looking forward to mushroom and grilled cheese sandwiches.
I think it's in the orange family, I think.
Okay, I feel like we might have had this conversation
like
before.
Little baby orange?
Yes, it was, and I got it before. Okay, unless I'm wrong. Someone's going to tell me if I'm wrong. Also, quinoa and broccoli stuffed acorn squash. Don't know what acorn squash is. I guess we'll find out.
How do you know what acorn squash is?
I mean, okay, so there's zucchini, then there's yellow squash.
You know what? You don't know because you're not married to my wife and her family who eat all things squash.
So what's acorn squash?
It looks like an acorn.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of. A little bit.
What color is it on the inside?
They're all like yellow-orange.
All right, well, we'll find out. That also
or
comes
old
with
gold, if you
raisins.
prefer.
Old gold, so it's a wolf squash.
Sure.
The third thing that's coming for me is black rice sesame noodles with bok choy.
I would eat that as well. Why not?
Because I'm cooking it for me and my wife. That's why not.
I'll come over. It'll be fine.
I'm not telling you what day we're cooking that.
But I mean this sincerely. We always do the 2-person meal, but I do think there's a chance that we're going to try to do like a small get together at our house, and that is where if we do it, I'll go with the family plan and then be like, yeah, we just cook like this all the time. We have all this around for any occasion.
Will I be invited after what I just said?
Probably not.
Well, then you can't talk about it on the show afterwards or I'll be very offended.
All right, that's fair.
So if listeners would like to do the same, then Blue Apron is treating Total Soccer Show listeners to their first dinner. How about that? Blue Apron's taking you in for dinner.
Yeah.
It's a $30 value if you visit blueapron.com/TSS.
So check out this week's menu and get $30 off with free shipping at blueapron.com/TSS.
Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
Thank you to Blue Apron for sponsoring this episode. Now should we move back to the Premier League? And I'm going to guess on your piece of paper, you've got Watford-Tottenham up next.
I do. I'm going to say thumbs up. Mm-hmm. So it finished 1-1. I'm going to say thumbs up to Troy Deeney for putting attention on his team instead of on the ref. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. So in the post-match interview?
Yeah. So Richarlison, who everyone's sort of very familiar with at this point, right? Brazilian guy kind of making things happen for Watford. He has this great move in the area where he lifts it over his own shoulder and goes to turn and he's in on goal. And Ben Davies steps across him and possibly fouls him for a penalty kick, right? And everybody's mad at Martin Atkinson, the referee. So they asked Troy Deeney, striker, Watford captain from the West Midlands, so you know he's a good, solid person. They ask him, what do you think about that penalty decision? Did the ref get it wrong? And Troy Deeney says, well, Richarlison seems to think it was a penalty kick, but I seem to think he should have passed to me and I would have had a tap in.
Yeah.
So often, players and coaches will choose to deflect attention from their team by blaming the referee. You know what I mean? Like putting the focus there when maybe it's things that their team has done. This is Deeney doing the exact opposite.
Do you have the rest of the quote?
I don't.
Oh, because it goes on to him say like, you know, maybe some people are upset about that one, but for me, the refs had a great day. He's made the right decisions.
Yeah, he was decent. That's
like
what
he could have given a lot of fouls and a lot of cards for little things, but he let the game play. So to your point, I think it was a good way to just avoid that drama and instead be like, no, he did what he should do, and we played our game.
Because it was also the Eric Dyer handball, which possibly could have been a penalty, right? Yeah,
so it should have been a penalty.
It would have been so easy to just complain and complain and complain. Yep. Instead, Deeney's more just like, no, if Richarlison had passed it to me, I'd have scored.
And that's where I'm going to say thumbs up for some people, thumbs down for others, because I'm going to say this was a good example of proper English football. If you're like one of those folks, this was it for you.
What does that mean?
The first goal for Watford comes about from like some shoving, some kicking. I think Eric Dyer just gets literally shoved in the back off the ball. Yeah. Watford get the ball back. Harry Kane gets wrecked. They score. But then for Tottenham's equalizer, I think they do the same thing where like people get knocked over, people get shoved down, and then Tottenham end up scoring. So you've kind of got a little bit of shoving there, but then you've got like some red cards in there. You've got a red card in there. You've got a lot of bad tackles. You've got a lot of very physical play in this game that I felt was a lot more like, oh, that ball's loose and it's a crushing tackle, but no foul given or no call given. It was definitely very open, and the referee allowed a lot to continue.
All right, so I have one more for Stoke Swansea. Stoke beat. Sorry, have you got more on this Tottenham?
I do, because I forgot that one that you were talking about, the Richarlison one, where he gets maybe theoretically pulled down or blocked by Ben Davies. That from that play, Tottenham go down and score. So that's what makes it 1-1. So that's where it was sort of Tottenham doing it right back to them. So definitely a physical affair, and then Richarlison obviously on the receiving end of that Edson Sanchez red card, elbow, question mark.
Davison Sanchez?
That's the one. Yeah. Edson Sanchez is somebody else.
He invented light bulbs. So I want to move to Manchester City, who played today.
Yeah.
And it finished Manchester City 2, West Ham 1. West Ham led for a certain amount of time. This blew my mind. I honestly thought this was a day that West Ham were just going to absolutely clean down.
We talked about this like at halftime, you and I did.
Yeah, I think my guess was it's going to be 100-0, and it wasn't. It was only 2-1, and West Ham were ahead for a while. But I want to give a thumbs up to David Silva, who scored the winner in the 83rd minute, for proving that Raheem Sterling isn't the only Manchester City player to score late winners. They were in danger of becoming a one-man team, just in terms of whose name is on the score sheet at the end.
I think Silva scores the winner in the 84th, I think it was.
I want to say 83rd, but let's agree to disagree.
And there was a joke that like Raheem Sterling came out to him after the game and was like, I was going to score 10 minutes later, man. You didn't need to do it then. Like, I was all over this.
You got there early. And Sterling was still involved in the comeback. He had the back heel to Jesus to set up Otamendi. So Sterling still doing his stuff.
But I remember our conversation a little bit differently because I think when we talked, it was like still 1-1, and I thought this was going to be the game where City finally coughed up points because it felt like that sort of like...
talking about, we talked before this game had ever happened, like we talked Saturday about what was going to happen in this game, and I was sort of, I fear for West Ham.
But there is, and I did too, and then when it was 1-1, I was like, well, maybe this is that game where it's like, maybe West Ham like rise to the occasion. David Moyes gets that point. People think maybe it's not a bad appointment, but it's also just kind of, it's what inevitably happens through the course of a season, and instead Man City still find another way to win. And that's why I also have thumbs up to David Silva for his aerial ability, which is not something that I feel like we talk about a lot. But this goal, first of all, it's a beautiful ball from Kevin De Bruyne.
Yes, it is.
But while he's getting pulled back by Declan Rice, David Silva, he still manages to hit...
Who just joined the Total Soccer Scout Network.
There you go.
Well,
maybe it would have been better to wait a week because he's basically trying to foul or do anything he can to like mess up David Silva's concentration. Instead, he gets the exact right foot to it, David Silva does, to hit a flying volley into the back corner. Beautiful goal from him. Beautiful winner for Man City.
Good aerial reception.
But also just... it's that, but it's just also his awareness that he basically gets that ball, and I assumed as soon as he got it, I knew when he was going to score. So I was like, oh, he's going to shoot from distance or dribble through a bunch of people. And instead, he drops it to Fabian Delph, who plays it to Kevin De Bruyne, and it's just a really smart run where he does that thing where he stays away from everybody, so nobody quite knows who needs to pick him up, and suddenly he just pops up wide open at the back post, and it requires desperation defending that doesn't come off.
I'm so excited for that game next week.
One of us is.
Did you find, where is it? Is it at Old Trafford or at the Etihad?
I think it's at Old Trafford.
Okay, so at least that makes it competitive.
Maybe.
I say that with all due respect. Like, I just think Manchester City are that far ahead of everybody, and United doesn't have Pogba, that if it was away, then I can't see it going any other way.
I still think this is probably going to be a frustrating game for Man United fans, would be my guess. With no Paul Pogba, I think this is a time when Jose Mourinho is maybe thinking, fixture list coming up and congestion, they're bound to drop points. Let's just get this point so we keep it relatively close.
But the logic would say, like, we're so many points behind, this is our chance to really, like, make this a proper title race. But I can see, Mourinho's a calculator, right? He will have decided that a draw here is better than losing.
Yeah, you know, and I think there is also something to be said.
Herrera's playing in this game, isn't he?
Oh, he definitely is with no Pogba. Yeah, for sure. But I think there's also something to be said for, like, around this time of year, like, you can have that downturn in form and it can be disastrous because there's so many games back to back.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if maybe part of it will be him thinking, we get a point here, we get some favorable results, at least when we come out of this like winter period, maybe we're 6 points back or 5 points back, then we can really take it to them later on. And he maybe doesn't want to risk it. Oh, I'm just saying this now to prepare myself for what might happen this weekend.
I'm now less excited for next
weekend.
Right. So how about we go to Stoke?
Sure.
Stoke beat Swansea 2-1. I'm going to say thumbs up to Peter Crouch for proving that age ain't nothing but a number, but height is still an actual thing.
Okay.
So he gets the headed assist to Diouf in this game. Peter Crouch still doing it.
And I want to say that was the second goal, which puts Stoke up 2-1. That's how it stayed. But it was also... I want to say thumbs up to Xherdan Shaqiri for making me smile.
Because he scored. What did he do?
For the second goal, which Diouf ends up putting home, it's Peter Crouch who flicks it on. Shaqiri runs up to celebrate with them. And Diouf is not short by any means. He's certainly not Peter Crouch height. But Xherdan Shaqiri is short, and he tries to hug them both, and it really does end up with him like hugging two grown men like just below the waist, basically, because they're so tall, and it just made me smile.
Like he's a kid who doesn't want their parent to leave.
Yes, basically. Yeah, and I want to say on this game, thumbs up to Wilfred Boney for getting his first league goal since October of 2016.
I kind of forgot about him.
Yeah, but I want to say thumbs up to Wilfred Boney.
2016?
October of 2016, in the league at least. But I want to say thumbs down to him for giving Swansea false hope. And I want to say thumbs down as well to Leroy Fair, because it felt like Swansea sort of had control of this game, up 1-0, really needed the result. And Leroy Fair gets the ball in the middle of the field and just holds it. I don't know what he's doing, but he's like 35, 40 yards from his own goal, and he kind of dribbles around and then tries to dribble across and just gets stuck. Stoke come right back, score the first goal through Xherdan Shaqiri, and that's kind of it. And it feels like that's sort of, when you have your central midfielder just cough the ball up and it leads to a goal, it has to make you question whether or not he can play through the middle, and then maybe you try to play wide, you kind of ruin your game plan a little bit, you end up losing 2-1.
Oh, Leroy Fair.
Yeah, not great.
Anything else from the Premier League? I've got to be honest, I am out of thumbs. All my thumbs are gone.
I've got thumbs up to Damari Gray's willingness to sacrifice his body for Leicester's only goal in their 1-0 win over Burnley.
All right.
I think it's a Vardy shot that spills loose. Damari Gray comes sprinting through, puts it in, but also puts his body into the post.
I watched it in slow motion. It is horrifying to watch.
Because at first it's just like, oh, he made contact at high speed. It's probably just sort of like wind knocked out of him. But then the way he's holding his knee, it looks almost like he tries to cushion it, and in so doing gets his leg caught. And I thought maybe tore something. But he gets up and continues to play.
Big blue bruise.
Yes.
At time of recording.
And then my final thing I have from the Premier League is I don't even, it's like thumbs up to Fraser Forster or maybe down depending on what he was trying to do. West Brom's 0-0 draw with Crystal Palace, because this is the one where he gets the ball played to him.
Yeah.
He basically tries to do a fancy cutback past Wilfried Zaha, but then the ball spills loose a little bit, so he has to try to get to it. Wilfried Zaha puts him under pressure. They both fall down. The ball spills loose. It doesn't come to anything. I still feel like this could have been a penalty, though, or at least an indirect free kick, and maybe a yellow card, maybe a red card.
If Forster handled it after the back pass, then it's handling a back pass.
Yes.
And so, it should be an indirect free kick, right?
We think so, right? But that's where my question comes up, because yes, it's handling a back pass, but then he's doing it, if this is what happened, then he's doing it to prevent Wilfried Zaha from basically scoring a goal, in which case then it becomes a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. I think it would probably end up being something like a yellow card to Forster and an indirect free kick would be my guess.
I also feel
I'm not a referee.
I think Zaha might touch this at some point, which kind of, I assume, definitely resets the play so he then can handle it. So what I see is, first of all, the cut he tries to do. Fraser
He being Forster,
he should have just wedded this clear as it came to him, right? He does the classic cut that a goalkeeper does where it's almost correct, but you do it so hard because you're so determined to do it that you cut it into your own knee. Right? This happens so often to goalkeepers. They cut it into their knee and it bounces loose, and that's why suddenly they're in trouble, right? Then as he's kind of scrambling, I see Forster. I think he's aware that he can't handle it because he could easily gather it, right? Instead, he kind of puts his body on top of it like it's a grenade, and he's throwing himself on top of it to try and stop Zaha. And he doesn't handle it until you see Zaha go for it. And I think that Zaha has touched it at that point. The problem is the camera is the other side, and both of their bodies are obscuring exactly what's happened, so I can't say for sure.
I can't say for sure either, and that's where
he gets away with it.
And that's why I'm thumbs up and down for this, because it's a bad cut.
It should be up because he gets away with it.
It's up because I think you're right. There's a chance that he knows he can't handle it, and so he's waiting until Zaha is at least close enough that it looks like he's touched it, and then he plays the ball away with his hand. But if not, then it's fortunate and maybe should have been a foul. So it's tough to say.
So have we covered every game except the Southampton-Bournemouth game?
We have.
In which case, I'm going to say,
sure.
I'm going to get something from there. So it was 1-1 between Southampton and Bournemouth. This was the other Sunday game, with all due respect to both teams, because it wasn't Man City. Thumbs up to Ryan Bertrand for taking mockery well. So Ryan Bertrand, towards the end of the game, it's 1-1. He goes to take a throw-in. He's a left back, so it's on the left. Goes to take a throw in, and essentially it slips as he throws it, and the ball, I don't think it even comes in bounds. It just goes straight up in the air and lands about 20 yards farther down the field. He looks very silly doing it.
Yes.
Everybody laughs at him. You hear all the crowd jeering,
and he does a quick gesture of it never came in. He does a very come on, let me do it again, please.
He makes sure that because you do get a second go at it, right? If it never enters the field, then you're just some dummy juggling the ball on the sideline, basically, right? If you fail with the throw in. When the crowd jeer him, he looks at them and he taps his wrist like it was his watch, and then winks a couple of times at the crowd, saying, "Oh, I was just time wasting. It was just a thing." And so he's not actually claiming that, but he's just having fun with it, rather than giving the middle finger to the crowd or sort of being upset by it.
I think my favorite thing is that there's somebody out there who's writing a 6,000 word article about how this is what's wrong with modern football. This isn't a time to joke around. You made a mistake. You should own it.
But I love Bertrand's reaction. Great stuff. I hope he plays for England just for that.
Sure.
So that's the whole Premier League covered.
It is.
How about that?
How about that?
Good job, us. What else have we seen this weekend, Tyler?
I'm going to take us to Spain briefly, and I'm going to say thumbs up to La Liga for seeing that the title race in both Germany and England might be a little bit out of reach, and they think, let's keep it a little bit tighter than we need to.
Okay, so what's happening in Spain?
Barcelona drew 2-2 with Celta Vigo, so that keeps them top of the table, 5 points ahead of Valencia, who lost 1-0 to Getafe. Atletico Madrid won, but then Real Madrid drew as well, so it's basically 8 points, 8 points separate Barcelona from fourth place Real Madrid, so there's going to be a lot of fluctuation in there, but it just felt like a weird weekend
How many points between 1 and 2?
That would be 5 points between Barcelona and Valencia.
It's still a title race.
He says, looking at the table. Absolutely. But I feel like there's always one result in the Premier League where it's like, ooh, that didn't go the way they wanted it to. I'd say this week was Tottenham.
Yeah.
There's always one of those, and it's a rarity when it happens on a wider scale. And it did seem like that's what happened in La Liga this weekend when 3 of the top 4 teams all draw, not playing each other. That's an interesting weekend, I'll put it that way.
Can we also talk about how it's December and Real Madrid are 4th and the manager hasn't been fired?
Yeah.
That's what normally would happen, right?
It's baby steps. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it would, and I think it's obviously because they've just won the Champions League back-to-back.
Yeah.
That certainly doesn't hurt things. But it is also Zinedine Zidane, right? And I think that gives him a little bit more leeway.
Yeah.
You do wonder, though, if they continue to struggle and maybe get knocked out of the Champions League, what comes next? I really hope Madrid don't get rid of him because I really enjoy having him managing in Spain.
So that round of, assuming they make it,
Yeah.
they will definitely make it, right?
Yeah.
That round of 16 draw will be fascinating to see who Real Madrid get. That will be the game to watch, whoever Real Madrid get in the second
I
round.
hope they get Man City.
Why?
Just because that'd be a fascinating game to
'Cause
watch.
that's maybe the toughest draw you can get.
Plus Zidane, Guardiola. Yeah, there's a lot of connections there. It'd be good. I'd enjoy that
All
immensely.
right. So Champions League is coming back Tuesday, Wednesday, by the way.
There we go.
We'll be on that.
We'll be on that. I also want to say, while we're still in Spain, I want to say thumbs up to Shaq Moore for just being a starter at this point.
Did he start for Levante again?
Started and played the full game in a 0-0 draw with Malaga, which
Yes.
is good. Levante moving up the table. So he's like in there as they're not in the bottom. That makes me very, very happy. Because for a
Adam
second,
Bells will be pleased.
yes, but for a moment, I forgot and thought Shaq Moore played for Alaves, who are very much bottom of the table, and I was a little bit depressed. But then to see an American just starting in La Liga, it's something that we've wanted because I think it's a great place for players to go, obviously to get experience in a top-tier league, but also to develop a little bit more technically and tactically. I think it's a great league for him, and I think it's a great sign.
All right, so it's not in my notes. Since we're talking Americans, can I call an audible thumbs up? And
Sure.
say thumbs up to Jonathan Gonzalez and his Monterrey team.
Yeah.
They won the second leg against, I believe, Morelia.
Morelia.
Monaca. 4-0, 5-0 on aggregate.
Yep.
They are in the they are in the Copa MX final. That's separate. The Liga MX Liguilla final.
Yep.
They will play their rivals Tigres.
Who I think also went through 5-0 on aggregate. So it feels a little bit like Monterrey went into the second leg and thought, we need to make sure that we keep that momentum going.
Matchy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and I also,
Matchy.
I really love, I don't know if this is the trend in Liga MX, but the teams that finished 1 and 2 in the regular season are the teams competing in the final.
It's good.
So it's a 2-legged affair. It's December, I wrote it down, it's December 7th and 10th. You'll get to watch American defensive midfielder Jonathan Gonzalez for Monterrey against the, I'm going to say the sort of superstars of Tigres. So many players on that Tigres team.
That'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, you're gonna. We got. I'm not even gonna do this. I was about to go down that list, and then there's no point.
Gignac, Valencia.
Oh, you're gonna do it? All right, cool.
Yeah, all kinds of players.
Yeah.
We'll get more into that as that game
Eduardo
rolls
Vargas
around.
in there too, I believe.
Yes, sometimes.
Yep.
Sometimes it doesn't even.
I think he started and came off for Jurgen Damm. It's a good team.
And then at the same time, Monterrey have a Copa MX final on December 21st against Pachuca. So there will be an American Gonzalez lifting the Mexican Cup. It'll either be Omar, the past, or Jonathan, the future. We shall see.
I'm pulling for the future.
Only one of them scored an own goal against Trinidad.
Yeah, I think. Right? Yes. I'm going to move us to Germany, but with a quick stop in France for reasons we'll get into
This is a
later.
great vacation.
I'm just saying thumbs up to Strasbourg, and I'm going to leave it at that. We'll talk about it more when we get to scouting.
Okay, all right.
And so we'll go to Germany, and we'll say thumbs up to Weston McKennie, I guess, for reclaiming a starting spot.
Yeah, so we really thought... I mean, I know I was hard on him in the 4-4 draw because he was subbed out in the 33rd minute. It's worth noting that the other guys that were subbed out did not start this weekend for Schalke against Köln. McKennie retained his starting spot alongside Max Meyer in central midfield.
Yes.
Didn't complete the game.
56 minutes.
Leon Goretzka eventually came in, but he did retain his starting spot, and he was kind of involved in the first goal. Well, he doesn't have like a direct assist or anything like that, but he's at the top of the box, like spraying the ball left and right a couple times before the final ball is served in.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Sure.
I'm not even saying it as like a thumbs up, thumbs down type thing. Just so you know, he is involved in the Schalke attack.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. I think this is one of those situations in which if he weren't an American, we absolutely would not be talking about him right now in the build-up to this goal.
Oh, you should hear me on my Max Meyer podcast. I'm all about it.
Oh, yeah? That's good. I think the only reason why I say, like, thumbs up question mark is just because it was 56 minutes, which isn't great, and it was a 2-2 draw against the bottom of the table team. Is also not
that's
great.
That's the bad part.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
At a time when they could have taken advantages of slip-ups elsewhere to move even higher up in the table.
It means Goretzka's closer and closer to being a starter again.
It feels that way.
Yeah.
But I still think what it speaks to for me, though, is that I think that they have like different personnel for different approaches. And I think McKennie is the maybe start the game off, establish your game plan. Maybe Goretzka and is it who's the goal scorer from this game?
Bergstaller,
and
the first one.
The one who came on and scored, who came on last week and scored, Harit?
Arit. Yeah, the Moroccan Arit.
Yeah, like that's another one where I feel like if they're chasing the game, they need to get something. Then he comes on. Maybe that's the same for Goretzka.
No,
he says, hopefully.
Goretzka's their absolute star who's just been injured. If Goretzka is fit, he starts every game, right? The only way through for Goretzka is that I think his contract's expiring, so he's going to be sort of he's going to leave for free, I think, at some point. And that's the only reason they would sort of if Goretzka falls out of favour. If he's fully fit, he's starting.
But if he is almost out of contract, then there is the argument that maybe he moves in January where they can make a little bit of money off of him, and then maybe it does just become Kenny's starting spot.
I'm all about that.
I'm all about that as well. I'm also all about Christian Pulisic starting, even if it doesn't lead to a great result for Borussia Dortmund. They drew 1-1 with Bayer Leverkusen.
And it was looking bad. It was looking like they were going to be losing until, is it Wendell? Got the red card
for Leverkusen.
Leverkusen. Leverkusen's goal is another sort of Dortmund disaster. There is like a low lights clip reel of Dortmund's defending this year that is absolutely horrifying. It also kind of involves an American. I mean, Subotic is the man at fault.
But it's like Forrest Gump, where they have to have like the Alabama crowd has to have the like stop, so he'll stop running. Like it just felt like that with this high press from Dortmund of like let's just press all the way up the field and then they'll all be offside. Wait, there's a midway. Wait, what? Huh? Like halfway means they're still onside? Because basically they press past midfield.
They do, and Subotic steps and tries to head to a teammate. It's intercepted. They play a through ball. I can't remember. It's number 29. I can't remember who that is. But the through ball for Leverkusen comes through for Kevin Volland. And Nuri Sahin is standing there appealing for offside, even though Volland has run from inside his own half.
I mean, that's inexcusable.
Inside his own half. You cannot be offside inside your own half. So I'm getting more towards the opinion of poor Roman Bürki having to play with this crazy defending.
Yeah, right? I mean, and he ends up, they round Roman Bürki from about 40 yards out. It's Kai Havertz who played that ball, by the way.
Was it really?
It was indeed.
Oh, brilliant. So Bürki comes storming out. Maybe it was the wrong decision because Volland essentially, there's so much room that Volland can just touch it around him and just be too fast for him and go around and then score, right? I'm not sure what else Bürki could have done.
I guess in that moment, maybe you're just trying to think, if I get to him fast enough, he'll like shoot from distance when he doesn't want to, or maybe he'll panic a little bit and take a heavy touch. But more often than not, you're just giving him room to go around you and then pass it in.
See, maybe he could have stood his ground and waited and tried to close things down.
He hasn't got a
lot to work with.
When your defense have made it a situation in which a player has come from their own half and completely unmarked and is on a breakaway, there's not much else that you can do to blame the goalkeeper, I'd say.
Okay, but then Christian Pulisic is present as Dortmund score the equaliser. He's involved early in the build-up, right? As in he dribbles. He's playing right wing at this point because they've moved positions around. He dribbles in field and he ends up laying it off. Then the ball ends up going down hit my mic. He ends up going down the left and coming in.
We talk with our hands. Total soccer show.
I am pointing left and right here. So Pulisic, essentially, he's just that like right wing stretching the field guy, not involved in the goal in the end.
But he started in a 3-4-2-1, we think, maybe a 3-4-3. Started on the left side of the attack. So at least he is still kind of retaining that spot as a creative attacking option for Dortmund, who can transition into other roles when the situation requires.
So Peter Bosz definitely likes him, but how much longer will Peter Bosz be there at Dortmund?
I mean, it's worth noting that Dortmund had a man advantage from the 41st minute, and still were only able to get that one goal. And I feel like never really cemented. Like, it wasn't the kind of Arsenal-Man United situation in which they had tons of chances and just couldn't get it. It still felt like Leverkusen kind of had control of this one. And I think that speaks volumes about the changes that need to be made at Dortmund.
So we've heard from quite a few people that the big reason Bosz isn't really under pressure being fired is that I've forgotten, is it Goretzka? I don't know his actual, I can't remember his specific name, I might have that wrong, and I don't know his job title, but he's the man who's in charge of hiring and firing. He's like a technical director, maybe?
In your defense, it's because there's the front office director, and there's the executive director, and there's the chairman, and it's a ton of different roles.
The person who is responsible for getting rid of Tuchel and bringing in Peter Bosz is also the guy who probably it's his job to fire him. And I think he doesn't, my understanding is he doesn't want to fire him because he doesn't want it to look like he made the wrong appointment.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he might end up going down with the ship.
Sunk cost fallacy, baby.
Sunk cost fallacy, Sunken league position as well. As Dortmund continue to wobble their way back down the table.
Yep.
Yeah, they were the title challenger at one point.
Now in 6th. Not ideal. Not ideal. Still in Europa League, though. That's good. In the Europa League spots this season. They're out of Europa League. They're out of Europe, period. So that's not great.
Can they not make Europa League?
Oh, I guess they're not. No, they're not out yet, but it's not looking great.
We'll find out Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, we will. It's Monaco who are out. That's who I was thinking of.
Okay.
I apologize.
Any other thumbs for Americans anywhere in Europe or elsewhere?
I mean, there were lots of Americans who did lots of things this weekend, but it wouldn't be more than like a quick mention for those people. So, no, I'll say we're good.
So let's move on
to
the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network.
Sure.
I see I have 2 sides on this piece of paper you've handed me, which means there's a lot of scouting today.
There is indeed.
Where'd you like to start?
I would like to start with you reading the first report from Alex Rendon.
Okay. Oh, Alex Rendon.
Yeah.
Alex is scouting Oren McKenzie-Gaines, the 19-year-old American winger at Darmstadt. Alex says, unfortunately, after making his first appearance and first start in October, Gaines has not made an appearance or even made the matchday squad for Darmstadt. He was featured in a local German publication in which he indicated that 1, he prefers to go by Oren, not McKins. 2, he needs to work on the defensive side of his game. And 3, while Darmstadt lacks a U23 team where he can gain match experience, professional level training was a big reason for his move from Wolfsburg's youth setup. All right, I feel like Oren McKenzie-Gaines, excuse me.
I believe that was in the spin zone.
Yeah, he's looking for silver linings.
I would say so.
Yeah, Oren.
Stephen Brandt scouting Christian Pavone, 21-year-old Argentine winger, or Argentinian winger, for Boca Juniors.
The Boca Juniors?
Indeed, the Boca. The Boca Burgers. Pavone is reportedly attracting the interest of a number of Premier League clubs, including Liverpool, yet Manchester City and Arsenal reportedly have the best chance to sign the 21-year-old star, who has a release clause of £32.5 million.
All right, Stephen, keep an eye on that for us. Anurang Ganjaria is scouting Andrija Novakovic, the 21-year-old American striker. I want to call that 21-year-old very tall American striker, on loan at Telstar from Reading. Anurag says 2017 has been good for Novakovic. Since signing a new 2-year contract with Reading, he's been in fine form for his loan club, Telstar. Cemented his place in the starting 11 with a team-high 8 goals and 3 assists in 15 games. That's better than 1 in 2. He's got the ratio. If he can keep up that form, he could certainly force his way into Reading manager Jaap Stam. I forget Jaap Stam.
Right.
Into Jaap Stam's plans, especially since Reading are languishing in 16th place in the Championship and could definitely use a few more goals. This is a Reading team that made the playoff final last year.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm sure they'll be back.
They lost Danny Williams. That's the problem.
Get him on that plane from the Netherlands?
No. I'd say let him keep banging goals in for Telstar.
Yeah, that works for me too. Brandon Colvin scouting Brahim Diaz, the 18-year-old Spanish forward for Manchester City. This is a long one, but I think a pretty good one.
Okay.
An explosive dribbler with remarkable ball control, Diaz plays with considerable positional freedom in the attacking third, sometimes cutting into midfield from the right wing, sometimes linking up the attack as a support striker or advanced attacking midfielder.
All right.
His recent stellar performances for City's Premier League 2 squad, 5 goals and 2 assists in 12 appearances, seem to be paying off in the past few weeks.
Not a 1 in 2 ratio.
No, not quite. In the past few weeks, a brief Champions League cameo against Feyenoord and a Premier League bench spot against Southampton have indicated that Pep Guardiola may be looking for ways to integrate Diaz. Part of that might be because another variable that may be motivating this promotion is that reports suggest that Inter Milan and Real Madrid are prepared to swoop in January to sign the youngster if City can't find minutes for him.
This is the Jadon Sancho effect.
Yeah.
You know, Jadon Sancho left for Dortmund because he didn't see himself getting minutes at Man City.
Yeah.
It may have scared them a little bit. This might be like when Weston McKennie didn't sign for Dallas and went to Schalke. Dallas suddenly signed
on a very elevated scale.
Everyone went to homegrown player contracts for Dallas really quick. Man City, Sancho leaving may be the best thing that happened to all the other Man City youngsters.
Why do you say that? Just because it's
freed
up space?
No, because it'll motivate City to play them or lose them, right?
Yeah.
Use them or lose them.
It also becomes like we talked about, like MLS becoming, or the US becoming a more like recognized like farm system almost. Like, hey, Americans are good players. Like maybe that's also the case. Jadon Sancho kind of reminds everybody like City's academy, Phil Foden, they're very good. Maybe they're worth kind of looking into for like a 17-year-old who could be on the move.
Mike Wills is scouting Julian Brandt, the 21-year-old German attacker for Bayer Leverkusen. All right, Mike says, Julian played the entire 90 and looked lively to start the game against Dortmund, unleashing a volley from about 20 yards out that forced a Berkey save. After a first-half red card for his teammate Wendell, he got the thumbs down. Brandt found himself in more of a wing-back role where he played well for the most part, except for Dortmund's equaliser, where he stepped to the ball and lost Schürrle, who got the pass and found his man for the tying goal.
I'm going to say that's a big except.
Yeah. Also, thanks, Mike, because I'd forgotten that it was Schürrle that scored the equaliser.
There we are. Dylan Veach scouting Kai Havertz. We mentioned him earlier.
Yeah.
18-year-old German attacking midfielder for Bayer Leverkusen, who makes me always want to scream, Kai Havertz!
Like cry havoc?
Yeah. What did we established that was Julius Caesar?
Yes.
But I think it always comes from Christopher Plummer in Star Trek VI. Because I'm a nerd. Kai went the distance in Leverkusen's 1-1 draw with Dortmund. He started on the right wing in what looked like a 4-3-3 setup and combined well with Leon Bailey and Kevin Volland up front to really press Dortmund from the opening whistle.
Leon Bailey was really good in this game, by the way.
As was Kai Havertz, who took advantage of a Dortmund defense that was playing a ridiculously high line by latching onto a poor clearance, intercepting it just inside his half, and sending Volland through to beat Berkey for an easy opening goal. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Down to 10 men, Bayer did give up an equalizer but looked the more threatening side throughout. Kai was disciplined defensively, showing that he isn't just an offensive threat, but can get back and support when needed.
And once again, he's 18 years old.
Decent.
That's incredible. All right, Todd Ito is scouting Takafusa Kubo, the 16-year-old Japanese midfielder for FC Tokyo. Todd says in the final game of the J-League season, Takafusa Kubo came on in the 80th minute of FC Tokyo's 0-0 draw against Gamba Osaka. With the season now over, Todd says it might be quiet on the Kubo front for a while.
We shall await further reports with bated breath. Sean Scott scouting Alan Saint-Maximin, 20-year-old French winger for OGC Nice. ASM, I appreciate that. ASM's return from injury this week has been stellar. He delivered an assist for the winning goal midweek versus Toulouse after coming off the bench and cutting in from the left wing, sending a beautiful ball towards the back post where it was then headed in. ASM also scored Saturday with a deflection, but yeah, whatever, in the 71st minute to cement a 3-1 win over Metz.
All right, good for him. Ben Williams is scouting Diego Lainez, the 17-year-old Mexican-American for Club America. This is a new assignment. Ben says Diego had an 18-minute cameo to forget in the second leg of the Liguilla semi-finals as Club America fell to Tigres. He conceded a penalty 3 minutes after entering the game and looked a bit out of his depth. To be fair, America was down to 9 men at that point and the tie was pretty much already decided. Diego finished the season having played over 600 minutes. Not bad for a 17-year-old.
Not bad at all.
There's no more regulations in Liga MX, right? There's not the 2011 rule where you have to give 1,000 minutes to players under 21. So he has earned all of those very, very honestly.
It's a big deal. And an exciting deal.
A name to remember.
Also a big deal is Kylian Mbappe, scouted by Beth Jolly and Alex Barone. Kylian scored his 5th Ligue 1 goal of the season in PSG's stunning 2-1 defeat away to newly promoted Strasbourg.
Hence earlier, yes, okay.
Especially because 2 seasons ago, Strasbourg was in the 3rd tier and multiple players on their current roster, that's their current roster now, were semi-pro.
Go Flint Tropics!
Indeed. Kylian made a well-timed run between the center backs, accelerating past them with ease to smash home Rabiot's low-driven cross from 4 yards out. Beyond that, the pattern of Kylian's night was approximately this. Get fouled, get annoyed, shoot, miss, attempt a high flare move, lose the ball, repeat.
Oh dear. All right. But he's still supremely talented.
I'm going to add that I think it was probably lose the ball, get the ball back, repeat. Because then it leads to get fouled.
Okay. You want to complete the circuit?
Yeah, you got to.
You're such a wonderfully pedantic man. Cole Hamilton is scouting Callum Connolly, the 20-year-old English defender/midfielder on loan at Ipswich Town from Everton.
If you don't complete the circuit, the battery doesn't work. That's all I'm saying. It's got to be all connected.
Callum Connolly, Cole says, has fought his way back into the starting 11 with some impressive performances, including a goal in each of his last 2 games to move Ipswich up to 7th in the English Championship. And for those who don't know, 7th is one place outside of the playoffs. The first goal was a glancing header from a corner in a 1-0 win over Derby County. Second was a follow-up on a save, I guess De Gea wasn't in goal, from a teammate's free kick in a 4-2 win over Nottingham Forest.
Here's the key part.
Side note, new Everton manager Sam Allardyce has identified the lack of fullback depth as an issue, which could open the door for Connolly or future US men's national team left-back Anthony Robinson to be recalled early from their respective loans. I've got to say I'm team Anthony Robinson on that one. Well, I'm sure Callum Connolly is very good as well.
I think if you're going to be team Anthony Robinson, you got to learn to pronounce his name properly.
What did I say?
Throw it out Anthony.
Oh,
come on now,
I'm sorry, Anthony.
You've hurt his feelings, and now he's sad. Andy Lang scouting Marley Canales, 20-year-old American attacker for UCLA.
Ooh, we got some College Cup to talk about.
Indeed. The Bruins faced Duke in the Women's College Cup semifinal last Friday. Marley got 1 touch on the ball and made it count. She did not play a single minute of the scoreless double overtime draw, but was selected to take UCLA's final penalty kick.
Wait, so you can be on the bench and take a penalty?
I don't know how college works.
Or maybe you make subs before the PKs.
So it might have been subbed in just before and didn't get a touch, or it might be that maybe you can change it because everybody's an option. I don't know how college is. Bruins goalkeeper Tegan Micah saved Duke's final penalty attempt, giving Canales a chance to win the game, which she did with a lovely top corner finish. Unfortunately for the Bruins, they went on to meet their rivals Stanford on Sunday morning in the College Cup final, which they lost 3-2.
I guess congrats, Stanford.
Yep.
College Cup winners are Stanford.
Go Cardinal.
All right. Jonathan Holmgren is scouting Alex Iwobi, the 21-year-old Nigerian attacker for Arsenal. Jonathan says Iwobi came on in the 14th minute after Mustafi picked up an injury in Arsenal's 3-1 defeat to Man United. The Nigerian international showcased his lethal speed on the counter and had several opportunities to score. And I'll add, but David De Gea was in goal.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good description for most of that game. Several opportunities to score, but David De Gea was in goal. Alec Brew scouting Davy Selke, the 22-year-old German striker for Hertha Berlin. Selke scored in Hertha's 2-1 loss to Frankfurt on Sunday. It was his 6th goal in his 11th game for Hertha across all competitions. They are currently tied for 11th with Wolfsburg and Stuttgart on 17 points, only 5 points above the relegation playoff spot. They were also knocked out of Europe, of the Europa League last week, with Selke scoring in their 3-2 loss to Sevilla.
Oh, I also got an email from Alec asking if essentially has Davy aged out now that he's sort of starting regularly and he's already 22, and could he get a new scout? The answer is no. Just kidding. The answer is yes. If you feel that your scout has kind of aged out, I'll be happy to set you up with a new one, Alec. Expect an email this week.
I'm going to say, though, you can still file those. Even if you move on, your player makes it to that level, there are still going to be moments say Davy Selke comes on and gets some minutes for the German national team or does something interesting.
Yeah, we'd like to know when he makes his senior team.
You can still send in those reports too.
Yeah, okay. We'll call that a lightweight scouting report.
That sounds good.
Assignment. Matthew Shea is scouting Alessio Romagnoli, the 22-year-old Italian centre-back for Milan. Alessio is back from his calf injury and scored in 2 consecutive games in November. Unfortunately, he got a red card made up of 2 yellows in Sunday's draw with Benevento. Milan's season is going pretty poorly, but Romagnoli is on track to be called up to Italy's World Cup squad. Oh, wait, sad emoji.
Said Matthew Shea. That was not Daryl rubbing salt in the wound.
I will say that maybe it's sort of like with the US, where the failure has opened up doors for, McKennie, Tyler Adams. Yeah, I got a legit mention of him in for the US national team. I think Italy failing to make the World Cup will probably see some sort of retirement / clear out, and guys like Romagnoli will get their chance with the national team.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Watch this space.
Not this one.
No, but we'll probably talk about it more.
The general soccer space.
Yes.
All right, so thank you to everybody who sent in scouting reports today.
That was the correct decision.
If you'd like to join...
I think we had 20 reports there.
If you'd like to join the Total Soccer Show scouting work, the URL is totalsoccershow.com/join. I spent the weekend doing scouting assignments, so there are many more new players in the network. If you want your assignment, I know there are so many people who have signed up, especially after the recent unpleasantness. People supported us by signing up en masse. Haven't been able to get to everybody. If you're annoyed, if you've signed up and you're annoyed that I haven't sent you your player yet, I totally get it. But just email me, Daryl at totalsoccershow.com. Just say, hey, I'm waiting for my scout. I will get him to you as soon as I can, as soon as you email.
But let's all be nice to each other,
yeah,
shall we?
Nice.
Let's be like, hey, buddy, I know you're working hard, but whenever you get a chance, if it's not too much of a bother, you don't need to say all that.
It doesn't have to have that many words.
No, it does not.
Actually, I did have an exchange with Alan today, who accidentally sent a rude email. I think he was joking around, but it came across the wrong way. Just, Alan, I want to let you know, we're cool. We're cool. All's good. And I'll be sending you your scout probably by the time you hear this.
Alan, I'm going to find you. I'm going to hunt you down. We're fine too, though.
Thank you to everybody who sent scout reports. Thank you to everybody who subscribes to the show. Thank you to our advertisers. And Taylor, thank you for taking the time to talk to me this evening.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. Final plug is for Total Soccer Show t-shirts. If you want to order a TSS t-shirt, it has to be by December the 5th. That's when they get shipped off and printed. The other way around, they get printed and then shipped off. Go to totalsoccershow.com/merch to get your TSS t-shirts. That's all from us. We'll talk to you again soon.
You gotta slice it.